Meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the township clerk, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons requesting notice in accordance with township policy.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for the individuals serving our nation.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
The clerk will please call the roll.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Phelan?
Here.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Here.
Mayor Winterfield?
Here. Next item on the agenda is presentations. Greg, Brenna? Step up.
Over there with it.
Hi, everybody, and thank you for coming. Greg is a very special person to the First Aid Squad, and he has been there for since you graduated college, right?
I was in college.
You're in college when you did that. And I have to say that before we give his proclamation to him, I have to say that being a leader myself in different positions and different leadership roles, I know that you're only as good as your people. So everybody in the audience, I mean, please give yourself a round of applause because you make Greg look good. So, Greg, I just want to let you know, from the bottom of our hearts, the council, we really appreciate everything you've done. I mean, you've put in a lot of time, and I know you've taken a lot away of your personal time. It's time for you to step that up, right? So without any further ado, I'm going to read this, and then I'm sure Councilman Phelan would like to say a few words. Whereas Greg Renna was a college student when he was recruited by the First Aid and Rescue Squad at the 2004 Pequannock Street Fair, one of the biggest events in Pequannock, and was elected lieutenant within 2 years of joining the squad. He has held the position of captain and was elected chief in 2009. Whereas Greg has answered hundreds of calls for flooding, hurricanes, freak snowstorms, house fires, first aid of our residents, and for mutual aid to residents of neighboring communities. Whereas Greg has served as chief for 7 years, and through his leadership, the squad has become a strong community organization, and they are on call from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., 7 days a week. Whereas Greg has made the decision to step down as chief and continue to serve the community as First Aid and Rescue Squad volunteer, which is no easy task. Now, therefore, myself, Mayor Kathy Winterfield, and the members of the Pequannock Township Council hereby express their gratitude to Greg Renna for his years of service to the community and recognize him for his exemplary contributions as chief to the Pequannock Township First Aid and Rescue Squad.
I just want to tell a quick story. When we won the primary, Kathy and I were walking around the street there, and we happened to walk up to the First Aid Squad, and I said to Greg at the time, I said, "Oh, I hear you have problems with one of the paid services that cover the county," and I mentioned her name. And he turns around and he looks at Alice and he says, "Don't say anything." I'm like, "Oh," I said. So as Kathy and I walked away, I said, "Kathy, I want to be the liaison to the First Aid Squad because this is going to be interesting." I have enjoyed all of it. You have worked such a miracle with these people, and they're all great people. I enjoy being there and doing what needs to be done to help the First Aid Squad. But we are very proud of what you have done, what the First Aid Squad has done. We couldn't ask for a better First Aid Squad. And we know that Tom will do a good job too.
Yes.
You taught him well.
And if you want any pictures of the council, you can come down, or however we want to do this.
Anyway, thank you. you.
Very much. Would you like to come down and take pictures?
Yes.
You're gonna miss somebody.
Oh, he'll be around. My wife always says, "Oh, let's call Greg on Friday. Don't have anything happen to you, right?"
stay.
Denise, you can stay.
At this time, are there any reports or comments from volunteers serving our community? I guess it was good that we finished.
Guess they're not staying.
Any reports from volunteers?
No.
Ed, go ahead.
Ed Engelbach, Township Town Historian and a member of the Historic District Commission. I just wanted to make some comments with regard to some fundraising activities that have taken place with regard to the Pequannock Township Historical Society. A number of us who are on the Historic District Commission are members. Recently, arrangements have been made with the Historical Society and Cedar Crest. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, we had a bus tour which was arranged through Cedar Crest, in which 18 individuals from Cedar Crest boarded a Cedar Crest bus and then came down to Pequannock Township. And there was a small stipend fee that was charged to the individuals, and they all had a good time and got some idea about the history of Pequannock Township. As you know, the residents of Cedar Crest, many of them are new to our community, new to Morris County, and in many cases even new to New Jersey. So this was an opportunity to acquaint them with the township that they are now located in and give them an idea of the history of our community. Much of the time was spent at the railroad station, and they enjoyed the comments. And I want to thank George Janowitz for being with me as we conducted that tour. And the Historic District Commission for making the railroad station available to residents of our community. The other thing that will be taking place sometime in February, I'll be doing a series of 6 lectures at Cedar Crest that'll be on town and New Jersey history, and the money that I will be getting will be going to the Pequannock Township Historical Society. It's a nominal sum of money, but it's a way that the society is raising funds and attempting to play a major role in terms of supporting the Martin Berry House, with the hope that all of this will be completed either this year or sometime next year. In the meantime, I know there had been some comments from Councilman Vanderhoff with regard to the Historic District Commission vis-a-vis the railroad station. I just wanted to comment that with regard to the railroad station and its maintenance, anything that occurs, that all gets reported to the town manager. The Historic District Commission has a chain of command, and that chain of command is toward the manager, not to a particular council person. So when information is requested, we usually make that information available to the town manager, and frequently I or somebody else from the Historic District Commission will speak to the town manager about issues with the railroad station. In addition, I just wanted to make some comments with regard to the roof. Jay and I were on the town council when there was the decision with regard to the purchase of the railroad station and the application to the Morris County Historic Preservation Trust Fund for funds. Okay, and in that preservation plan, which was approved by the council at that time, and I approved it, Jay approved it, there was the allocation of $1,000 for additional roofing material. And the view of the architect, Tom Fenneman at that time, who was with the firm that did the preservation plan, which was also approved by the council for submission to the Morris County Historic Preservation Trust Fund, that $1,000 be appropriated for new roofing material. The roof was judged by the architect at that time to be sufficient from anywhere between 10 to possibly even up to 20 years. That might be pushing it with regard to the 20 years. However, that was the decision which was approved by the council at that time, as well as the town manager, Kevin Boyle. And $1,000 was appropriated. The railroad roof, when it was first purchased, it was noted that the roof had been cut on both sides, and that was extended or restored to the original look with new guttering, as well as replacement tiles, or I should say shakes, that were put on the roof. And I know there had been some concern about that preservation plan, and I want to give this to Councilman Vanderhoff with regard to that. And if he looks through that, he'll see what the information says. But in the meantime, the members of the Historic District Commission are very much concerned and try to maintain that building as best we can. For the general public, we have a budget of $850 a year. We are not in what we would call the ability to repair and restore the railroad station, okay? The initial expenses, 80% came from the County of Morris, 20% came from the Township of Pequannock through its Open Space Trust. The original money that was received from the county was $159,000. And we have examined that roof. There is no leaks that are appearing inside the station. And also two members of, or as I say, one member of the Historic District Commission with a volunteer went up into the attic to take pictures of it, and we have not noted any leaks at all. It doesn't mean that at some point there's going to have to be possibly a new roof. There are two ways to doing that. The one way is capital improvement down the road. That's for the council to decide, and the town manager and Bill Pereira of DPW and our building inspector, or making application to the Morris County Historic Preservation Trust Fund Advisory Board. And that's all I have to say, and thank you very much. And Jay, thank you very much for pointing out your concern and some issues.
Well, my concern is not in the plan, it's just that if the roof needs work, we have to do it.
Right, and that would be
what
a
our conversation was.
right, and that would be a decision that the council would have to make
Well,
as to what they want
someone of
to do.
expertise has to look at it,
Okay.
not me.
Yeah, well,
or
again,
somebody.
I don't think we can go out and get a firm in, a roofer, a person that does slate work, to have him come in and do an inspection. Okay, I think that would go through the town manager.
I think the main issue is it leaking or not leaking?
Yeah.
And does it need attention this year, in 3 years, in 5 years, or whenever?
Right now, that is the current judgment of members of the Historic District.
Is that it's not leaking?
Right. Now, one never knows. You know, roofs are roofs, and one never knows what weather conditions are that could impact a roof down the road. But right now, that is our assessment, and we're only amateurs, okay? We do the best we can, and we report to the town manager when we have issues with the town property, in this particular case, the Pequannock Township Museum, the Plains Railroad Station. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Sam. Are there any other comments from volunteers? No? The next item on the agenda is... Oh,
Louise.
as soon as I go to read. Remember the Mets? What?
Hi, Louise Marchese, 16 Roland Road, recording secretary of EDC. Just real quick, there's a grand opening this Sunday, November the 1st. The business is Simply Yoga, located at 574 Newark Pompton Turnpike. And once again, the grand opening is 12 in the afternoon on Sunday. Hope everybody can make it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is public comments. This public comment period will be limited for 30 minutes. An additional period of comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized to come to the microphone. Provide your name and address for the record. Henry?
Henry Samick, 4 Misty Court, Township of Pequannock. I watched the council meeting with great interest in this oil pipeline, the Pilgrim pipeline, that was mentioned at the council meeting time and time again. And I thought about the DEP, Department of Environmental Protection. And the DEP doesn't want oil tanks put into the ground for heating homes. In fact, they basically want any existing oil tanks to be opened up, cleaned out, and filled with sand. However, the insurance companies want the oil tanks removed on the sale of the house. And I often thought, well, that's interesting. Why would it be that the DEP, right, and the insurance companies do not want oil tanks in the ground? Generators, for instance, that use diesel fuel, they want above ground tanks for the generators to fuel those generators, no more in the ground. And yet, why wouldn't the DEP be interested in making sure that a oil pipeline is not placed in the ground? Especially it's going to be trenched and it's going to be over the Ramapo Fault. And I'm saying to myself, gee, if there were ever an earthquake and that oil line should shatter, you're going to be pumping 8 miles per hour of oil into the ground along the path of that trench. Regardless of where the rupture will be, it will contaminate the earth. And I said to myself, that's kind of odd, because the DEP would allow something such as an oil pipeline to be placed in the ground, and yet they don't want oil tanks to be placed in the ground any longer for heating homes.
Well,
What is the pipeline? Is one big oil tank?
I'm not an engineer, and I can't get into the minds of the
I understand.
DEP, but I can say that as being a homeowner with an oil tank in the ground, there was no way I was monitoring that, probably the way that it should have been after we had it removed. So I think there maybe is a little bit difference about having something that's monitored and not monitored.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but I'm just
Right.
thinking as you're speaking as to
No.
why they might
Right.
think of things like that.
But you see, they don't want oil tanks placed in the ground any longer, period. Period. No new oil tanks for any heating of any homes, or anything for that matter. Everything has to be above ground.
Well, I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of input if this application ever takes place.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is this, a resolution does not have any teeth.
No,
We all know that.
No,
Now, I
I'm
don't
just
know
giving your
about that
opinion.
attorney from, I don't know what town, it was Chatham? Did anybody look into what that attorney had the reasoning behind
Yes.
his ordinance?
yes,
Why he,
Mr.
actually,
Usdike
his
did.
township's
yeah,
ordinance?
we did, yeah.
Okay. You know, you're worried about a lawsuit. Well, you know, if the earth gets contaminated by this 8 mile per hour flow, and again, the oil will follow the direction of the trenching of the pipeline.
Well, our belief at this point is that if we were to do an ordinance, which many people are starting to follow suit on what we're doing, is there's not going to be much teeth in it, and it will drag you into a lawsuit, possibly. And they haven't even made application yet. So our guidance from our attorney is to sit and wait at this moment, and we're going to be listening and watching and talking to all our representatives, getting all the information we can. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Okay.
There's no action, and I mean, I can take another straw poll tonight of the council, but I think by speaking to them that we're still in that pattern. I mean, after we have more discussions, we can take another straw poll and see if anybody has changed their mind. But that's kind of where we're at right now. If Bob wanted to address if there was any more conversations with the attorney from the group, I don't know if you've had any more from your initial conversation.
No, I had the conversation and I received some material, interesting material, and I can say, and a lot of it. And there's a lot of work done through Chatham investigating problems with the pipeline, and it's enlightening. The problems that can occur with the pipeline, the potential issues that can occur are very well documented, and the potential dangers are very well documented.
Right,
So,
right.
and in a variety of scientific studies and other things. And the material is impressive in its volume and its information. What it doesn't necessarily address, though, is the relationship between those concerns and land use issues.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the issues we have in Chatham, for example, they deemed in residential areas, these pipelines were not a permitted use in residential. Of course, we have industrial areas, we have commercial areas. In overall, just prohibition for land use reasons takes some thought and concern, and that's why our planning board spent a little bit of time looking at it. I think that ultimately we are seeing other towns go down this road. I think they go down the road because they're responding to some of the scientific concerns about this use. And I think the concern about trying to do that in the context of land use is, when we adopt land use ordinances, we're taking away property rights from people, and we want to be careful that when we do that, we're doing that for reasons that are lawful and under that jurisdiction. We're not DEP, right? So we can't, for land use reasons, say we want to regulate the science of it. That's not what we're geared to do. So I think we do continue to watch what happens as information gathers, as other state agencies. There's been I think there's some movement at a state level to look at some of this stuff. And then the day may come where it's appropriate for us to act by a land use ordinance. But I think we're a little more cautious, rather than just do it because other towns are doing it and getting on a big
I agree with you.
We want to be careful.
But at the same time, has anybody gotten any input from the DEP in terms of their position on this pipeline?
I don't think they've given it.
Dave, if you want to address that.
We have been in contact with DEP. DEP has been very careful not to project an opinion one way or another, because they're going at, if an application is submitted, they're going to be, if not the lead agency, a very important agency in the review process. And they don't want to, taint that review by saying we're for it or we're against it. So their position has been, we understand it's out there. They're not in a position to provide, anything other than information, some of the technical stuff about the same information that was provided, through the attorney, and she'd gathered it from a couple different places.
Right.
So, no, DEP is not taking, and they very clearly say we are not in a position to take a position.
I understand that. But
So, and we have reached out, and I've had conversations with up to deputy directors at DEP. They're aware of it. They're watching it as closely as everyone else. And I mean, the communities that are potentially involved are on a list of, communities that receive information both from the league and from various state officials on a regular basis.
Okay. They may not want to take a position, but have they issued any detriments to putting the pipeline in the ground, in the earth? I mean, have they issued anything? They don't have to take a position, just, to let the people know what can happen in the event of a catastrophic earthquake with that pipeline. Whether it be gas, whether it be oil, whatever. We had one burst in Edison many years ago, right? And we know what happened there. I mean, that wasn't oil, of course, that was gasoline. Well, oil is highly flammable, and it's also highly contaminable. So, you have to look at those situations, and really DEP should, even if they don't take a position, at least issue some sort of guidelines as to the detriments of putting a pipeline in the ground.
Technical data that's available, and most of it is, they're a source for information that's been published by either other agencies, EPA, or, some educational facilities. Not that I've seen.
Yeah, I know.
They have not.
Yeah, it's like in the building department at DCA, right? They will not put anything in writing. They'll issue you, and I know because I'm involved in that, right? They will issue you language, they'll tell you over the phone, right, what their position is, but they will never, ever, ever put it in writing. And this is a problem. This is a real problem. You can't keep kicking the can down the road. Thank you.
Henry, before you go, I want to thank you for sending me down the path of getting solar panels on my house.
Okay, and I understand you're gonna get an electric vehicle too?
What's that?
You're gonna get an electric vehicle also? Yeah, see, environmentally friendly, very important. If all the people can become environmentally friendly, you're gonna, set a milestone, because people have to get used to that. Electric vehicles are here to stay. Solar panels are getting more and more,
A little bit of cash to purchase those, though. A little bit of cash.
Cost me a lot.
What, solar panels?
No Christmas presents this year.
But let me tell you, in 2017, Tesla's gonna have a car that's gonna be about 30,000 plus 10,000 options, $40,000. It'll be all electric. It'd probably go about 350, 400 miles.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Chump change. Any other comments? Just your name and address for the record.
My name is Nat Arkin. I live at 303 Forest Glen in Pompton Plains. I don't know the gentleman who just spoke, but I like him. We've been hearing from the town council for quite a while now that you're waiting for the planning board's recommendation on an ordinance. Today I checked with the planning board secretary to ask if a recommendation had been issued. She said it had not. I asked, when do you think that might happen? She says she wasn't sure because there was no meeting planned for the month of November. And then I said, and then she asked me, she said, why do you keep asking me this question? And she's also heard from John Bannon on the same question. And her response was, and my response was, because the town council has told us that they're not going to make a decision on an ordinance until they have your recommendation. And then she told me, we're not aware of that, which came as an enormous surprise to me since two members of the council are on the planning board. Seems to be a bit of a breakdown in communications here. And is there an answer that somebody has to that
Let me
question?
answer it, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you. There was a discussion at a meeting, and you were at the meeting if you remember correctly. And I believe it's in the minutes because I believe we just approved those minutes at the last planning board meeting. So to say that there was no discussion, no recommendation, not anything is incorrect on the planning board secretary's part. I was at that meeting. I believe there's another member of the planning board sitting in the audience who was at that meeting. I don't remember correctly, but it was discussed. So for her to say that to you is totally incorrect.
I imagine those minutes will become available once they're approved.
They were just approved on last Monday, I believe it was.
The minutes were approved,
Last Monday, I believe.
and do they contain a recommendation?
I don't remember. I mean, I look at so many things, I don't remember.
Well, is there some point at which you're going to communicate to the town council whether there is a recommendation or not, and if there is, what it is?
I believe that was done at a past meeting that we had here, which you were not at.
Well, I imagine if I were, and I can right now, if it would make, please the audience, we'll take a straw poll and see if anybody has changed their mind. I had just explained myself when Henry was up that we are taking the position of sit and wait for application, wait for more information. The planning board doesn't seem very excited that this is something that we should jump on. I know that because of the two members here have discussed that with me. So I'm not quite sure. If they said firmly they wanted us to, it still would be a recommendation. It wouldn't be what we would do. It would be the way we would decide what to do. It clearly would be a recommendation one way or another. You want to say something? Go ahead.
Just a point of clarification, because my understanding, based on the meetings that have been held here, is that the recommendation from the planning board is to take no action at this time. It's not a for or against. It's essentially what our attorney recommended is that land use might not be the appropriate tool in Pequannock Township since those facilities already exist. That the Chatham model isn't necessarily the appropriate thing because they were regulating it through residential area, and it's not apples for apples. So that the planning board response after their discussion was a recommendation, or essentially no action at this time. So I think to say that there's poor communication, I don't think that's it. When you call the planning board secretary and ask and tell her that you're expecting a recommendation, I think the recommendation has been made, even though it's kind of been held in abeyance. It's a no action recommendation. It's not a firm yes, go ahead and do it, or no, don't do it. So,
Rich, do you confirm that that is exactly what has occurred?
We had a discussion at the meeting. I guess the discussion was maybe 5 minutes at the best, at the most. And at that point, there was a consensus of we're not going to do anything. All the members of the planning board were there that day, and I believe there were 5 of them.
Okay, when you say anything, you're talking about an ordinance, I assume.
Right.
An ordinance, we've already
Okay.
done a resolution.
Okay,
At
which
this
brings
point-
us to the next question. Do you have a plan other than an ordinance? Because I know you've all publicly stated you're opposed to a pipeline. If you're not going to use the ordinance, what have you come up with instead of it?
Well, I don't think there's a lot that we can do other than doing an ordinance or, as I've said in the past, Jay lying in front of the bulldozer. Okay.
You'll have company, Jay, I assure you.
But there's not a whole lot we can do other than, talk to the DEP, talk to our representatives, the higher-ups and so forth. There's not a whole lot we can do at this point.
Okay, so there's no plan
No.
except
We
to
have-
not
there is
do
no.
anything?
We have no plan
No,
B.
there's no
Okay.
plan of action.
I think we do
No
need
plan
to
of action is
continue
not
to
a plan.
watch it,
And-
like you said, and collect information and talk to other communities and, find out, who knows, maybe down the line, we'll find out that an ordinance is appropriate. Right now, we're not willing to do it, but it doesn't mean that we're not trying to gather information. I know the Environmental Commission has been doing a lot of input, and they will make a recommendation of some sort to the council. But everybody's going slow because of, there's no application in yet, and we're still collecting information.
Well, I think to Nate's point, it's too late once the application is put in. But
Right.
That's,
Well, I guess
Exactly correct.
so,
It-
again, it's on our radar. It's not high up on our radar at the present moment. My comment would be stay tuned. We'll see what happens as we go along. And we're not going to jump on a bandwagon just because everybody else is jumping on a bandwagon. We respect our citizens and we want to protect our citizens the best we can, but we also want to make the right decisions when we do it. We don't want to just go jumping into something without all the facts, especially when it comes to land use, like our attorney stated. So,
Okay. Somebody mentioned that our priorities don't match those of Chatham because of their residential concerns.
I didn't say that. Our attorney
Dave
said
just,
that.
I said,
Dave just said that.
Okay,
I
okay.
said it may not be an apples-to-apples comparison between Chatham and Pequannock because of the way the ordinance was structured.
Okay, but you do understand that there are a large number of residents of Pequannock that are right on the pipeline, proposed route. You do know that. All of you know that.
Yes.
And that's the community of Cedar Crest.
Yes.
Almost 2,000 residents of our town.
And I believe that pipe heads towards my house and towards Jay's house. It's close to our house, right?
If you were to look at it from the standpoint of individual homes that are affected versus Cedar Crest, you know there's no comparison in the number of residents.
One home, 100 homes, 1,000 homes,
It doesn't
even
matter.
one home is important to us. That's not the issue.
You're also aware that now there are 8 towns in northern New Jersey that have issued ordinances. You know
And
that.
we're aware of some that are in the same position we are. Mawa just came out that they're doing exactly what we're doing.
I'm aware of that, and Kinnelon as well has raised questions about going
Right.
ahead.
It'll be quite some time before we know what the right thing is.
Can somebody explain to us what is the risk of an ordinance? What do you see as the risk?
Yes.
Follow up. I'm gonna risk repeating myself, that if we were to pass the ordinance in the same format that Chatham did, a prohibition on this type of pipeline in a residential area would not ban the pipeline in the area that they're looking at, because they're not looking at a residential area. They're looking at using an existing right-of-way that is currently, what is it, zoned through half of that, it's PP, well, it's parkland, planned residential. So to just take the Chatham ordinance would not have the desired result that you're looking for. So part of the hesitancy is providing a false sense of security for something that we think might be problematic in terms of land use. So we don't want to take an action that has no impact.
I understand. But when you say that it won't be it'll be on a right-of-way, but not in a residential area, Cedar Crest will have it on 1,048 feet of its property. That is the proposed route that they told to Cedar Crest administration. So it very definitely will have a direct impact on the residents of Cedar Crest.
I don't disagree with that, but I think we're talking two different things. We're talking about a zoning ordinance for prohibition of a pipeline and what the potential impact is, to the residents and facility at Cedar Crest. That is not strictly residential zoned. There are residents there, but in terms of the way zoning looks at it, it is a very specific type of development.
Well, okay.
And I guess easements have been granted for the gas line, right?
And that's true. There is an existing use there, even though it's not a wet pipeline. There is a gas transmission line there.
Okay, but it will be on 1,048 feet of Cedar Crest property. We have that from Cedar Crest administration because they have done, initially they gave permission to Pilgrim to do a survey, which they have rescinded. And I think it would be a good idea if the town of Pequannock would rescind its permission for survey as well. And I don't think that the possibility of finding a Native American artifact should be a factor in your making that decision on rescinding. So I guess the question now is, where do we go from here? You want more time to gather information?
No, we don't need any more time to gather any more information. The Environmental Commission, they're looking at it and they're trying to come up to speed and be as educated as they possibly can if an application is submitted. But right now, and as I said, I can take another straw poll again, but right now the position of the council, as it was last time when we took a straw poll, is that we're going to sit and wait.
Okay.
And pay attention to what happens
Yes.
at all different levels of government. And
Yes, we're not going to ignore it.
Continue to be educated about it, and that could change as time goes on.
Right.
As we learn more, perhaps as laws change, we can re-examine that.
We know this is on every public official's radar, whose town this possibly could go through, and the state of New Jersey. Nobody's ignoring it, but there's no application, and we don't really quite know what to do at this point. There's nothing to fight right now, and the tools that you've presented to us, we find problematic. So we're not willing to do those.
Okay. I think Rich alluded to the fact that time is not on our side. If we wait long enough so that Pilgrim does file, and then we attempt an ordinance, it could be considered, number one, it could be grandfathered. Number two, it could be considered discriminatory at that time. So we don't have a lot of time to wait.
At this point, it's going to be discriminatory because we've had
Right.
9 months of conversation about the Pilgrim pipeline. And if you do an ordinance now,
It's in the paper.
it's obvious it's been in the paper.
Right.
Record.
I mean,
It's already.
it's not going to change that fact any.
Yeah. I know it's not the answer you want to hear, but that's where our
Isn't gonna
position
change
is.
that fact.
Okay? Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you, John. Go ahead, John, yeah.
John Bannon, 212 Greenleaf Court in Cedar Crest, in Pequannock. I didn't plan to speak tonight, but you raised the issue. I remember the last meeting, and as I understood that the decision of the planning board would be in the minutes, I understood that to be the minutes of the town council. And what I want, I didn't expect you folks to change your mind, or the planning board, whatever it was. I'd like a copy of the minutes that contains that decision.
Okay.
Whatever it is, nay, yea, or sit on a fence or whatever.
I think you should ask the planning board secretary for the minutes of
Good, it said, I
that
thought it'd be here,
particular-
but it's over there, okay.
Right, that particular meeting, I believe it was in September, I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, I'll call Linda and
I don't know which way.
and secondly, I was gonna ask too, where is the environmental report, so that's not handy as yet or available, and when that comes on,
I
it's
would
completed,
assume
I'd like a copy of that too.
I would assume the environmental would come back as, no, they don't want it. I would be very surprised.
Yeah, well, no, whatever the
But they're
decision, I'd
learning,
like a
they're
copy
finding out
of the
information,
decision.
so they know what they're talking about.
Say again?
No, I'm saying the environmental commission they're coming close to conclusions, but they're working on a lot of, and they wanna make sure they have
Oh,
all
I
their
know,
facts
we
before they
submitted
speak.
a lot of
Shared a lot with
documentation, and have been very
Mayor and
receptive
myself.
and courteous, and I appreciate their efforts and their volunteerism. So, thirdly, I'd like to suggest to read, all of you, the New Jersey Monthly Magazine, an article on the pipeline that's going to go through the Jersey Pinelands, which is the biggest aquifer east of the Mississippi River. But a sub-article within the article is there's 7 pipeline issues in New Jersey, including Pilgrim. They're all gas lines, which has a history, and fairly decent history in New Jersey. The only oil pipeline we're dealing with is Pilgrim. And again, you're in the path, and Jay, you're possibly in the path of the pipeline. But you have relatively young and vigorous men. The average age up in Cedar Crest is 85 years old. My wife is wheelchair bound, and I know in my own mind, I've planned out, we are in the middle of a forest. It's a beautiful town park. I don't know the earlier founding fathers who bought that property, but thank God they did. However, if you had the perfect storm of dry weather and a burst in a pipe and a fire, there's no entity, both on your level or the county level or the state level, they're going to send enough people up there to evacuate 1,800 people or more from a forest fire. You know that, I know that. So this down inside is one reason. There is no way I want an oil pipeline anywhere near our house. It's a beautiful area, I love the area,
There's no way we want a pipeline near you.
but you can get up and run, I can't get up and run.
That's true.
And most of the other people can't either. I can run, but I'm not gonna leave my wife.
Oh,
So just, I recommend this article, it covers pipelines. And what I've been saying to you is, if you don't take steps now, you're not even gonna be at the table of the decision makers. The issue of the Pinelands pipeline, they got around all the regulations, just like the Highlands as a commission. They got around the commission, the Pinelands Commission via a memorandum of understanding. Their attorneys are plotting ways to circumvent any regulations and commissions you have here. And it was stopped twice by the commission, of the Pinelands Commission. However, Governor Christie removed his appointee who voted against it, and Senator Sweeney, who's president of the Senate, a Democrat, he removed one of the people he appointed who voted against it. So there's powers that be that'll work with the pipeline people that we don't even know what's going on behind it. It's significant that Christie has not come out against fracking. He comes out on a year-to-year basis, but unlike Governor Cuomo, who's banned it in New York State because he sits astride the Marcellus shale deposits that carry into Pennsylvania and a little bit in northwestern New Jersey, there's forces working now that will just overwhelm us. We come to you because you're our closest elected officials, and I hope you as the attorney are strategizing how you're going to overcome that. The preeminent political entity in this issue, since they're a private company, is the state. And eventually they'll have to go through DEP. What are you doing that can ensure that we can't be overwhelmed by political decisions on a governor or the president of the Senate level like the Pinelands seems to be in the midst of now? Read that article and the sub-articles about the 6 or 7 other pipeline issues in the state of New Jersey. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
I just have a question.
Good evening, Councilor Sharon Taylor, 19 Libby Avenue, Pompton Plains section of Pequannock Township. I just actually had a question. Doesn't the boards post the meeting minutes? Aren't they supposed to post the meeting minutes online?
They're supposed to post them, yes,
So the last meeting was when?
September.
I don't
September?
know, I think we just approved the minutes,
They
Oh, so
approve
you
them
have
the
to approve them
following
first
meeting.
and then you,
but that doesn't mean they're posted, I'll be honest with you.
okay, all right.
They
thank
should
you.
be though.
They should be.
Ed?
Ed Engelbart, 64 Hopper Avenue, Pumpkin Plains. Can I make a comment with regard to one of the proposed resolutions? Or do I have to wait for that to come up?
You don't have to wait. Go ahead.
Okay, this has to deal with R 2015-184, the proposed professional service contract with the Martin Berry House. With regard to that contract, does it include a clause that preservation plan must meet the standards of the Morris County Historic Preservation Trust Fund Advisory Board?
Yes.
Okay, it does. Now, I'm a member of that board. Normally, anything that occurs with Pequannock, I have to recuse myself. But frequently, a preservation plan is prepared, and it then has to be approved by the Morris County Historic Preservation Board. Since this is not going to the board, at some point, that document might be used to ask for construction money or construction documents, okay? And that plan, at that point in time, has to be reviewed by a consultant of the Preservation Board by the name of Dominique Hawkins, okay? A very, very tough individual, okay, in terms of the plan. I just want to make sure that if at some point something happens with that plan, the company will make whatever revisions or changes in order to get that acceptable if ever there is a preservation plan submitted to the county.
You understand that part of the reason that we're doing this now is
Yeah.
because it's part of the contractual obligation of the township, as part of our due diligence to understand
Correct, right.
the scope of what
Yeah.
might need to be done before we finalize
Yeah.
the contract. When the RFP was developed, it was developed very intentionally, knowing that should this process move forward, we don't
Right.
want to have to duplicate the effort,
Right.
and that this plan is to be prepared, based on standards of the Morris County Historic Preservation
Right.
Group. That language is in the RFP verbatim.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that in case it eventually is used to ask for monies from the Preservation Board, it wouldn't be rejected for some reason or other. If it is, then the firm should make those adjustments or changes. And sometimes that happens. Most of the time it doesn't happen, but every once in a while it does happen. And I just wanted to make mention of that.
That's a good
to
catch.
make
No,
sure you
thank you.
cover all your bases, okay, down the road.
No, thank you.
And that's it. So thank you.
No, thank you. This time, we've reached 30 minutes of public comment. As previously noted, an additional period of public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Next on the agenda, public hearing on ordinance 2015-17. Ms. Marsh?
This is an ordinance establishing minimum and maximum salaries and pay rates for designated officials and employees of the Township of Pequannock for the year 2015. It was introduced on October 13th. It's been published and posted, and it's ready for hearing at this time.
Are there any comments from council? No?
No, we talked about it last time and we had the comparison.
Okay. Nope. Oh. If anyone in the audience has questions or comments on this ordinance, please come to the microphone, identify yourself for the record. Sharon?
Good evening again, Sharon Taylor, 19 Libby Avenue, Pompton Plains section of Pequannock Township. I just had a question because I was looking at the comparison from what you had in the ordinance in the book here. How do you, between your min and max, there's probably there's an increase amongst both, but how do you determine at certain salaries that are highlighted from min max, how are you determining what the pay scale is for that?
We do a comparison of comparable salaries using Mostly information from the State League of Municipalities for municipal specific titles. And we use, like-sized town where we can, and Morris County, Passaic County, Bergen County as our comparable salary force or salary comparisons. We then do a 20 to 80th percentile calculation so that our salaries are not, at the very low end or the very high end of comparables, and that's how we develop the range.
What is MAC coordinator? What is that?
MAC, Municipal Alliance.
Oh, okay. No, because I saw that there was one for the purchasing agent. There was like a $10,000 difference, so I wasn't sure. Was it because of someone's experience that you're hiring on, or is that just something that was like a low-key position?
That's the part-time position.
Right.
That's specifically because we have entered into interlocal agreements with a couple neighboring communities for purchasing agent. So there's a stipended salary associated with providing that service to the other communities. Otherwise, that would be part of one of our other titled positions.
Okay, and then just one more question. At the very end of what you have in your copy here, it says per event. So it looks like there's a program head coach, race coordinator, lakefront manager. Are those new positions? Because I didn't see it in the last update on the code book here.
Rather than listing every position individually, because that would make the ordinance very lengthy, for every softball, t-ball, basketball, baseball, coach, ref, we tried to be generic in the titles and fairly generic in the salary ranges so that all of the payments that we're making for the recreation programs are covered by ordinance, but it gives us the flexibility for long-term coaches who are in their 15th season compared to a new assistant
Someone that's
coach.
just starting at an entry level then position. Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I'll make that motion to adopt ordinance number 2015-17.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. Okay, no ordinance for introduction. Next on the agenda, items for resolutions. Ms. Marsh?
This is Resolution R 2015-179, authorizing issuance of the road opening permit for gas service to 5 Leland Avenue. Number 180, authorizing tax office refunds, overpayments, or cancellations. 181, authorizing the reinstatement of special assessment installment payment plan. 182, authorizing the alcoholic beverage control social affair permit for Holy Spirit School. 183, certifying that the members of the governing body have reviewed the annual report of audit for the year 2015. Resolution 2015-184, authorizing the award of a professional services contract to HMR Architects PA in an amount not to exceed $32,525.
There you go.
Sorry about that. To provide architectural and engineering services related to the preparation of a preservation plan for the Martin Berry House. And Resolution 2015-185, approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the October 26, 2015 bill list.
Thank you. Are there any comments on the resolutions from council?
Dave, there was some additional comments from the town engineer on 179. Are we going to eventually see if we can change that ordinance for those recommendations that were mentioned at the last meeting?
If council is okay with, the recommendations as stated, that was our intent. Just because of the timing, we weren't gonna have time to change the ordinance and make this particular application work, but, yeah, based on the engineer's recommendation, if council doesn't have a problem with making that an administrative function.
I'd like to see those, that ordinance changed to reflect those changes.
I would too.
I would too.
And we'll prepare that for introduction
Okay.
in the next meeting.
Okay. Any other questions, Dave?
No,
Melissa?
No, I'm good.
Councilman Vanderhoff?
Good.
Ellen?
This is for the attorney. Do we have to pull out 183 and vote as a separate, or no, that just goes?
No, that can stay with the, that can stay in the
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt these resolutions?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2015-179 through 2015-185.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is items for discussion.
Well, on the dogs in the park, I would suggest that Parks and Rec goes back and look at some of the areas we have. You know, certainly Aquatic Park is undeveloped at this point. At this time, I think it's appropriate that dogs be allowed there. I was talking to Dave, we have a large area along Pequannock Ave, probably almost a quarter mile now, which is undeveloped parkland, so I think it would be appropriate they go back, take another look, and there's probably more areas that can be used without any influence on anyone else, so.
I was just combing through the web and looking at other towns and what they do and don't do, and maybe we could look at some areas, and I would send it back to Parks and Rec. Dave, if you could bring that back to them too, is to have some restricted areas and unrestricted areas for dogs.
Right. The problem is most people are not aware of this.
That's true.
Right. I was a dog owner, and I wasn't fully aware of all of it
I
either.
have a park across from my house that people come and bring their dog all the time and let them run.
Right, right.
They're not aware.
It's
I'm
not
not saying.
posted, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think dogs
Well,
should
it's
be
not
on
posted,
leashes, but they should be
Not even posted in the park.
Right.
in other parks, possibly.
Yeah, but you know what, some of the ordinances are very good with other towns. They'll say, you know, on leash, but they won't just say on leash, they'll say a 6-foot leash, and they'll say if you have a certain kind of dog, like pit bulls, they have to have a muzzle. No, they're very specific. Some of them are very specific on what they mean by just leash. So you don't have one of these ones that just kind of, they can go out 30, 40, 50 feet, you know, the ones that come, you know, extract and all that. And also, I think that we should take a look at our bark park. I go by there every day. And if we're going, before we expand anything, we gotta clean up our bark park. I look at it and there's just resin chairs thrown all over the place, and there's just things.
It looks horrible.
It looks horrible. So before we would even consider opening up anything, I think we have to see that we can take care of what we already have.
Why can't we get a Boy Scout project putting benches or something in?
I think there are some benches. I think that there are benches in there, but
What the mayor's talking about is things people bring in.
right, exactly. Right.
It looks horrible.
It's horrible. It doesn't look like a nice park. And it's very visible because it's on West Park Way. It's not like it's hidden. So I'm all for, I'm very dog friendly. I'm for, but I do know that parks are for people. No, that's why we generate parks. They're for people first. First and foremost is for people. If we want to open up some parks, I'd like to see, I don't know how many dog owners are on Parks and Rec, but you really need to be a dog owner to be kind of close to this, you know, and then you need the balance of people who are afraid of dogs too. You know, why they don't want dogs in certain areas. And I get that, especially if you say if you open up, you definitely don't want them at games, soccer games and all those kinds of
But
things.
we do have enough property that we can.
So we recommended Aquatic Park to be added, so you wanna see what additional parks besides Aquatic
Yeah,
Park?
take a look at a lot of different areas.
Or maybe not just, maybe areas of parks.
Aquatic
Greenview
areas.
is pretty big, you know, is there parts of it that could be or maybe not be, I don't know, or, I don't know.
Well, and we, our discussions of this, we have areas that we've acquired a lot through open space.
Yes.
That aren't necessarily designated as
Parks.
parks. They don't have a name.
But
Go
they're
to,
open space, yeah.
such and such a place or park, that might be appropriate for people to have dogs, and that's not the way the ordinance currently reads, so.
Right.
This might be a two-track thing. We can make the ordinance more correct and more dog-friendly, identifying, the places where it's appropriate. I understand what you're saying about the park. I'd hate to wait on making fairly simple changes to the ordinance to do the bark park, which is
No, they're
kind
two
of
separate
a
issues.
victim of success. It was a gold project. I don't think anyone ever considered the amount of usage it would have. And the types of things, you go to the benches and the chairs, some of those things are brought in by the dog owners themselves.
But they're left, and they're left all over the place, they're scattered all over the place.
But the appropriate type of, you don't have wooden benches in a bark park because they get gnawed on.
Right.
That kind of thing. So there, some of the things we can probably address simply, some might require either capital appropriation or finding a scout, but that's,
Or maybe,
scout projects take some time to.
well, the Bark Park seems to be an organization on its own. They have their own Facebook page, Bark Park of Pequannock, they have their own Facebook page, and maybe a group of them would want to maybe come to Parks and Rec and talk about bark parks and how they should be run and what's the better way to make it presentable for Pequannock. Because to me, it's unacceptable the way it looks. That's my
a good idea.
opinion.
Take somebody that goes to the park a lot and have them go to the Parks and Rec meeting. Reach out to,
And talk about it, and,
make recommendations.
yeah, but I'm fine with the changes we made. They recommended. We should make those. But the winter time's a good time to just make it work on this. Or Parks and Rec can work on it, and we can come up with something better for the dog owners. All right. Anybody else on dogs? Okay. Best practices inventory checklist. My favorite thing.
I apologize for not having this sooner. It was, I know.
But we read fast, right?
Me too,
A
sorry.
little miscommunication there on my part.
Tell us
For the
what's
most
different.
part, the best practices worksheet, many of the questions are the same as last year. There are a lot of repeats, more than any other year, and to a certain extent, some of my responses are similar. For the most part, they are clearly either yes or no. There are a couple where they do want a response. There are a couple where I provided responses.
Well, now we're the problem
Just
ones,
because
right?
they're-
Because you get points for yes, right? You have to add up to so many points.
You get, yes. And actually, it's in the reverse. You can't have more than 20% no.
Okay.
Because there are a bunch that are not applicable to us. They don't count against us. So as long as you don't have more than the 20% no, we're fine. A couple of the ones where I do answer no, the state has been drumming the bandwagon for state health benefits for many, many years. Myself and the finance officers have long held that the state does not do a wonderful job managing state health benefits, and that for the, kind of as I put here, they are the largest health insurance in terms of number of covered lives, and they do not have a cost competitive product, especially not to ours. So the fact that they want you to essentially change to them or prove why you're not is nonsensical to me, and I tried to respond that way without being overly.
Do you know how many communities in New Jersey? Or not?
I know there are 86 self-insured. There are another 100 and some odd that have some plan other than state health benefits. It's about,
That's significant.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure we're not like, one of those old
One of
stuff.
five?
Yeah, right, yeah. Okay.
So there were only a couple questions that are actually new. I mean, some of the questions, have you looked at shared services? We have. While we didn't implement any new this year, we do look at them every year. We did have renewals of several, including our snow plowing with the county.
Well, we did do the garbage with the, what was it?
And well, that will count for 2015.
Right, yeah, okay, all right.
It hasn't actually, doesn't
Didn't
start till
happen, right,
November.
okay,
I
all
suppose I could say perspective on that one, but we
Hey,
already
yeah.
get a yes on it because
We'll
it
get a
is
yes
something
next year too.
that we look at.
Okay.
And actually, our contract with Morris County MUA will serve as an interlocal.
Good.
Yeah, we meet the minimum in terms of the percentage.
Well, that's the most important.
If you have any specific questions, concerns, I'd be happy to address them. And again,
Do you upload this or mail this, or how does this?
it gets emailed.
Okay. I don't have any questions. You guys have any questions down there? Dave, Melissa? No?
It's not like we have to approve it, it's.
Yeah.
Well, we have
I
to
mean,
read it.
we will review it more, we just.
Well, you're gonna have to
gotta-
put on that do you have to put it on there that we reviewed it, or how do you do, yeah, it'll have to come forward.
Well, the certification that the clerk does indicates that it will be discussed at this meeting.
Okay, good. Okay, good. All right. Next on the agenda is reports and notices. Are there any comments or questions from council? Oh, that's that. Yeah, anybody have any questions on that? I read the zoning one,
Right.
and I got my answers I needed on that. Anybody have any questions on that? I might go to that.
That's the,
101, that one?
Yeah. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, that's gonna go to zoning.
Yeah. All right,
I think that's like first week in November.
yeah.
that's
Ne-
next coffee beans.
Election day, too. Don't forget.
Coffee beans.
The next item on the agenda is the manager's report. Mr. Holberg?
I met with Ben Alfredo. The Scout will be working on replacing the gazebo as an Eagle Scout project. He'll be doing some fundraising over the next month or so, and work should be complete in the spring. Township received over $3,000 from the state's Bulletproof Replacement Vest Grant Program, and the 2016 budget preparation process is underway. Manager's department budget hearings are scheduled for next week.
Okay.
Do we know how much he needs to,
Yeah, how much he needs to raise for the gazebo?
He did give me his overall budget. He told me what his target fundraising was, and I committed to whatever the balance of the project would be for
I
next year.
think he's going completely maintenance free on that, correct?
Yes.
Really?
So there you go.
So he's replacing this completely?
Yeah, you play.
Have we talked to, was that dedicated by Tucker, or?
We wanted to bring his wife back in.
Yeah, I know, that's why I want to make sure, we want to know what we're doing here.
Well, the new one will be dedicated in Tucker's name. Tucker was the key person in getting, Rotary involved and the Pride Committee and having that one set up initially. Ben has already made contact with the church, and
I was just thinking that, make sure that's all okay.
that's
Is it gonna be
good.
the same size, or a little bigger, or same thing?
I think the size is the same. Yes.
Okay,
It's white.
really?
Yeah, like vinyl PVC,
Does it look all right? Still picture? I can't picture white, okay.
really nice.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is council reports. Councilman Cole?
I don't have anything to report tonight.
Go Mets.
Yeah, go Mets. Let's go Mets. That's it.
Councilwoman Lawrence?
Dave, something I wanted to ask you, I saw there was another shred date added, November 7th, is that
Real?
when it is, and is that happening?
Yes.
I just happened to see it on the newsletter, but I didn't know about it, and I had some
We
thoughts on that, so, go ahead.
We were a victim of our own success again. We ended up turning people away, unfortunately, because of the rainy day. I guess there was a little miscommunication, and the truck actually left before they had serviced everyone, which caused some complaints to come back.
And that's what I was gonna bring up, I had heard that it was a success, but there were people lined up on the turnpike and.
Part of the issue that we
closed.
ran into, some individuals brought multiple boxes, so on our advertisement, we have clearly labeled this is for residents only, no business,
Right. Oh, you felt like you were
Shredding.
getting business stuff?
Could have, or
home-based
somebody gave it to
business
him.
Yeah.
with multiple boxes,
I
which
wanted-
is kind of where we ran into some time.
Yeah, the only suggestion, and I don't know unless they have enough help, I know the week before I had called Denise and Parks and Rec, because in the past, they've used environmental commission members or green team members at the time to help kind of facilitate the traffic flow. They even went over to people's cars and helped them with getting stuff to the truck. Do you
Yeah,
feel like
it-
you need that? Because they said no last time, that they had it all covered.
No, that was not the issue.
Okay.
It wasn't a matter of people not moving fast enough.
Uh-huh.
The machine just couldn't keep up with the volume.
Okay.
And actually, we did have, the MUA was there distributing material about the recycling program.
Okay.
That seemed to be very well received, so.
All right, so I believe it's November 7th, and it's for 3 hours, I think. What is it, 9 to 1 or 9
That
to
sounds
12?
familiar, but
Something like
I
that.
don't, yeah.
I just saw it on the newsletter, so, yeah, November 7th. All right, that was it on that. Maybe we can, are they gonna put it on the sign again out front? And,
One page or.
what else do I have? They're just finalizing this, but for those that are interested in our nature lovers, the Pequannock Environmental Commission is hosting a tour at Mountainside Park. They're going to have a guest speaker, Robert Saunders. This is on November 14th, and it's kind of, I guess they're working with Cedar Crest, because I guess that's going to be the starting point or something. From 1 to 3 on November 14th, it's a walk around Mountainside Park to talk about, I don't know, it says here, edible plants, and I don't know if they call it foraging for health.
Who's doing that?
So, yeah, and apparently, so I just got this flyer today that they worked on, so I think it's going to.
Plants alive? No,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I hope people are gonna go there and learn to eat plants.
The frost comes.
That's what they're going
Eat
for.
berries like that. Oh.
But the Environmental Commission is finalizing this, and it will,
That'd be really good to identify the plants from leaves and stuff.
they've sent it to, I guess it's going to Carol's office, and yeah, I don't know much about it.
Are you going out and looking?
I don't think I can make it. I'm not sure if I can. And then what else do we have? Tomorrow night, the Economic Development Committee will be meeting, so that's 7:30.
I didn't, can you say that again?
Oh, EDC, the Economic Development Committee, they're meeting tomorrow night on Wednesday at 7:30. And I'll have a report next time for what they're doing, because they're finalizing a survey that's going out the first week of November. It's an online survey to businesses and business owners, residents, and landlords. So
Okay. Anything else? That's it?
I think that's it.
Councilman Vanderhoff?
Okay. This coming Sunday, November 1st, at 2 o'clock, we'll be dedicating a sign on the Mines property at the end of Mountain Ave. Mines family has asked me to speak since I've known him for 40-some years. So it's 2 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah, it's at the very end, right?
Very end. Okay, anyone wants to attend, I will be there. Company One Annual Beefsteak is November 7th. See, maybe tickets to Mr. Holberg, but it may not be a printed ticket, so.
It's a reservation.
Reservation. And there's one other thing that I forgot, so.
That's okay.
How much are those reservations per reservation?
$40 per reservation, start at 6 o'clock.
And don't we have something Sunday?
Yeah, the grand opening.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have that.
breakfast.
Yeah, but we're gonna be busy Sunday. Okay. Councilman Phelan?
I don't have anything.
Okay. I don't have anything either. The only thing I did see, I hate to even say this, but on Facebook, it was all over there about the Mountainside Park and the Boy Scouts kiosk way on the top damaged. Did anybody come to you?
In the parking lot?
No, way up on the mountain, I think,
I
yeah.
have not heard that.
There's pictures of it, and it's completely demolished. And, yeah, and, I don't know, I'm sure Mr. Phelan could help out. How do we get cameras in some of these remote areas?
Okay.
What do you think?
Was it
Then you have some expertise.
the lean-to or the bridge, or?
I think it was the lean-to.
You saw it, Dave. Did you see the pictures?
It looked like it was more than just a kiosk. It definitely looked like a lean-to.
Yeah, it looked like a whole lean-to.
Up in the Pine Grove, there's a whole bunch of lean-tos.
Yeah. The one comment was they weren't sure if it was due to weather and age or if someone actually knocked it down. It sort of looked like they might have had some
Maybe our
help.
ranger can get up there and take a look and see, and yeah, I mean, I wish they would come to the appropriate authorities when they can, I hate to, I mean, it's not, so they're only hoping that Dave or I are reading those things at midnight when we can't sleep. Oh, boy. Okay, next on the agenda is public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized to come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record.
Marion Better, 775 Newark Compton Turnpike. I just have a question about the recycling. I think a lot of people don't realize that with glass bottles or plastic bottles that you actually have to get the lid off, and it does say it here, but you also need to get that little safety thing off it too, because if not, they just don't recycle it, correct?
What little safety thing are
You're talking about the little round
Yeah.
plastic.
Yeah, that you have to get a knife and like actually flick it off.
That's around like the
Yeah.
milk.
Like this,
Don't you?
the
Yeah.
little bottle here.
Right.
I don't think, Denise.
Blame it on
recycles
Denise.
everything.
Don't blame it on
Right,
Denise.
she doesn't take those off.
Well, because I've said it to a few people, like, you know, because I've heard it depends on how good your recycling program is. And so I know for a fact that some recycling programs, they don't recycle it if there's anything on it like that. So I'm just asking about this one that we're going to have.
Do you want me to throw it in the garbage when I leave and we'll see if they'll recycle
I
it?
think they throw it back on your
You
lawn.
know, of all the, and we've been in conversations with the MUA for the better part of 6 months. That has never come up. You know, their facility is designed to do, you know, full separation of all the different types of recyclable materials. So I'm sure that would have come up. I will double check and I'll confirm it.
Just because, like I said, I read it does say, you know, recycled glass bottles and jars with caps and lids removed. So,
But, yeah, with the lids removed, the ring.
but the ring is the same plastic as the cap, which does not get
Maybe they
recycled.
mean
So
it's supposed to be empty.
I'm just, you know, like I said, I know some places they don't recycle it if that is on it. So I'm just, you know,
Like I
to
said, that
clarify
has
it.
never come up, and I'm not prepared to, you know, sit here and say, please remove all that, because I don't think it's
Can you just
necessary.
ask the company when you get a chance?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then the other thing is, isn't Pyrex glass? Like, it says not to recycle Pyrex and,
I think it's
Because
because
it's
the hardness
tempered,
of it.
yeah.
It's tempered glass.
okay. Because I guess I was
They
putting
melt
some
down,
things in
so
that
that's the same
maybe
as
shouldn't have.
glass bottles.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
They won't melt at the same rate.
Okay.
They remelt with
All right. Thank you.
Good points. Okay.
Frank Spizzeri, 35 West Franklin Avenue. A couple of things. Talking about the recycling, MUA was supposed to mail out all of the information. I didn't get mine yet. Do you know if
I got it Friday.
Right, I got mine.
everybody got theirs? I didn't get mine. I've talked to my mailman.
They knew you knew it all already, right?
I don't need it. I
They
got all
say
the stickers and everything, but I mean, I just wondered if everybody else got theirs. Okay.
Right.
I think everybody did.
We
Yeah?
started getting calls on Friday afternoon, so
Okay.
people got 'em.
All right. Talking about the dogs, and I don't know whether Joe brought this up at the last meeting, about Woodland Park is one you might want to add to the list of usable parks to, because, especially around, you know, not where the landing is, but most of them walk around into the woods of property that we don't own anyway, so if they leave their doo there, it's
Regulate
no
that.
big deal. I don't know whether
I don't
we,
think we can,
I don't know whether we have that on the list,
right.
but that's
We
that's
can't
one
really
park.
encourage you walking on someone else's property.
Yeah, just don't
I-
shit where you eat.
Sometimes you can regulate.
Staff's objection to that would be, we finally had a really great year at PV Park with absolutely no bacterial issues. I'd hate to have dogs walking along
There-
that.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, just a suggestion. Hey, you don't have to do it, you know. Shred Day, I want to talk about that because I was in line,
Uh-oh.
and about 3 cars in front of me was an SUV with the back seat down. Must have had 12 boxes of the ream boxes that you get paper in. And that guy was there for, I thought forever, waiting in the car. And there's no way that he was a resident. I mean,
The water quality, and I hope you don't use that as a reason to deny a fair and reasonable use to the community of walking the dogs around the lake. So that's all I have to say for right now.
The next Parks and Rec meeting is November 2nd at 7 o'clock at the senior house, and you're more than welcome to come.
280 Sunset Road, Pompton Plains. I tried to walk in Mountainside Park this weekend, and I have never seen so many cars in my life. Could you just tell us all the way down the road?
The Boy Scouts were up there with something.
Were they up there? Yeah.
We were just curious, because I've never seen anything like it in my...
Rocco's not here.
I know,
I was just
Rocco's,
thinking
where
about
is
it.
Rocco? It sounds like, where's Waldo, where's Rocco?
Where's Rock?
So, Jay, you know what I was doing? I was going back in my paperwork from previous town meetings.
Oh, no.
And back in 2007, there was a whole townwide park and recreation master plan. There hasn't been one that's been updated. But I think that's also a good stepping stone for a lot of the discussions between the skateboard, dog access, usage. You know, within the plan here, they give you all the facilities. They give you the acreage. They also give you the different uses and the analysis on what we use these lands for, and also the cost of upkeeping them. So I guess my first question is this something in the works for the near future to get updated, since we're doing a lot of changes here? Or is this just a platform for the next few years?
Well, it's, kind of a living document. We refer back to it quite frequently.
It's actually really good.
All the capital improvements that have been done at Greenview Park and at Washington Park are a direct result of that report. I will say, since that report was done, we have acquired a significant amount of additional property, both properties now adjacent to Washington Park, 60 some odd individual properties along the river. So, at some point, it would be appropriate to update that, and I think you're correct. That's
all.
Well, it's not necessary for the committee that's going to be formed, and they've been tasked with finding a location. I don't think it's necessary for them to be driving around town when all the information is there in terms of,
The committee in the skate park, you mean, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, like here they tell you, even behind Town Hall Fields, I take it that's in the back there, that gives you the per acreage, right? Greenview Park, 31 acres, Greenview Park. It's pretty
We
big.
had that document done, there was no plan
There wasn't.
of redevelopment or improvements. It was kind of haphazard. We looked at it, okay, we need a new parking lot. The rebuilding of Greenview came out of that document. When I first got on, we were scheduled just to do a parking lot pavement, and we all said, oh, wait, let's see what we can do, because we knew we had bathrooms and everything else to do.
Do you remember what the goal number 1 was?
We had the-
I'm going to tell you. To improve the quality of life for community residents. So it's not for one, it's one for all, right?
So,
It even goes on to say some more important stuff.
It's actually, if you, there's a link off of Parks and Recs.
Yeah.
So if you encourage residents to look at it, but get those young kids to start looking at it.
They already have.
Good. Let them do their
covers
homework.
from minimum to extreme in there.
And I'm not, look, I know everything's a challenge, but with the skate park, if you formed your committee already, that's good.
No.
No?
November
But
10th.
I really encourage those kids to just explore. Whether it's a yes or no, let them try. I think
Well, this
they'll
will
have a
be
lot
the
of fun
third
doing it.
group that comes before council.
That's right.
Have we
Sometimes
gotten-
third time's a charm.
That's right.
Have we gotten more applications since the ones we saw?
I think Michelle sent them out last week or something.
Right.
Yeah, Michelle sent them
Oh,
out.
okay. I wasn't sure if there was any new ones, that's all.
Yeah.
There's 7 altogether.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got 5, 7, and there's, 4 spots, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So my second point is I'd like to thank the council and even for the community, the ones who are in support, just to look at different outlets for people that do have pets in use of parks. Like I said, I have a little puppy. Well, not a puppy anymore. She's a year and 3 months. She's registered with the town. She has always gotten all her updated shots. She's a really good pet. She's gone through about 8 months of training now. She's got her Canine Good Citizen certification. She's going for advanced training for therapy dog training. I just took her on Sunday a coworker of mine, unfortunately, a few years ago, they lost their son to suicide. So we went in support of Out of the Darkness Walk, American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. So a lot of people that are dog lovers were there too. But in terms of this township with parks, I think it's just another outlet for other people at all different ages to use the parks. And you know, I walk my dog on Woodland Lake, but
How many summers is
what are you gonna do? Are you gonna have the? What am I gonna get arrested? Am I gonna get arrested in the slammer downstairs?
Oh, you are now.
Just make sure my dog's allowed to come and visit me, and I get food, water, and good shelter down there, and I'll be happy. Tax free, right?
Careful what you wish for.
No, but I just remembered that there was a master plan, and I looked it up, and I was actually looking, and I guess my question is, every time there are changes made to it, is there an update in there, or?
No, we paid a lot of money for that plan.
Do we update that file at all, like to say we've done new bathrooms, like this is a so-and-so date, or?
Well, like I said, it's a living document. We have a record of what we've done. The only official update to that was done by a contracted third party when the Board of Education started looking at some of their field improvements. The report that was done was actually done jointly between the township and the board to include their facilities as part of that report. So there is an addendum that looks at the board facilities, and you know, again, a lot of the improvements that were done there were a result of that planning process. So there has been a lot of activity in the past 8 years resulting from those two reports.
There's also an open space report too, that goes hand in hand
I've
with
got
that.
it too. Yeah, I've got a few reports.
Right.
And then just one last point. I was also looking at an article I had back in 2009 and 10. There was a article that Morris County showed of a trend of analysis on drug rate, crime rate throughout all our townships. Does Pequannock Township keep an analysis on the trend of crime and drug arrests in this township?
We do.
And do we make awareness of drinking and driving and enforcing it a little bit more when we have things that happen within our community?
The police and agencies like Municipal Alliance, because that's their purpose, attempt as best they can to make awareness, you know, to make everyone aware, but to the extent that you can speak until you're tired of speaking, you can't make everyone hear or listen or understand. The police department does a lot of enforcement, and to a certain extent, the county-wide statistics are a little skewed based on enforcement activity. Some communities that do a lot of enforcement show us having very high problem rates when they're not much higher than some of the other communities that aren't doing similar type enforcement.
So do we keep within this township like an accessible chart that anyone can view to see the trend throughout the years, or is it just something that's a data file, like a data dump that you?
I don't know where the easiest way to get that information is. It's reported to both county and state on a cumulative basis. We do have a crime reports section on our website that shows where police activity is occurring. I mean, if there's specific information you want, we can.
No, I was just
either
curious
try and
because I did
where
find
it
it.
exists or
Yeah.
get it and.
I was just curious because it was posted then, and I don't think I've ever just seen it before, and I was just wondering if it was just like a spot article, or if it's just something that within Morris County they keep like a trend, and they just had posted it at that time. You know, I think there was a lot of activity in 2009 and 10 as well, so maybe it was just some hot topic that was posted. Actually, Steve Janowski did the article, I think, one of them. So.
No, crime reports are posted regularly through a couple different outlets.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Never mind the arrest, find out how many have died over the past 20 years.
Well, I think, I just get concerned because, and it's, I don't believe in that Facebook, like going by what people say, but just by, from what I see, we have a small township that sometimes between the speeding, the crime rate, the drug abuse, drinking and driving, sometimes it's kind of not forgotten, but just loosely not called for, and people lose their lives. And it's unfortunate that, you know, it takes that for people to open their eyes up to see the damage that gets done.
Well, that's the end
And
result,
that's
Sharon, of a
why
lot
I'm
of
bringing it up.
systemic other issues. You know, the arrest of somebody doing something like that is the end of a lot of other problems. Mental health, possibly, you know, all kinds of things, you know.
That's right.
You know, all kinds of different issues that comes. The police come in at the very tail end, and the arrest is only the statistic of years of whatever happened before that. You know, the thing is like the Alliance is just trying to step in and do things before things get to that point.
And that's only why I asked, because sometimes when you look at an analysis and you post it, it gives community a visual versus just by something happening that's unfortunate for whatever reasons or causes there are, that it's just more of a pre-warning or a visual.
Well, you know what, Sharon, the
to make a
Alliance might be
change.
something that you might be interested in. I believe, Melissa, you're on the Alliance too. That might be something you're interested in working on with them, because they do a lot of good things, and they do have a lot of that data as they sit in their meetings. They're always looking at the data, and they, yeah. Well, who does that, Mary?
Yeah, Mary Vinus.
From Newbridge? That might be something you're very interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And they are always looking for good volunteers who can, you know, relate to young people and what's going on and what can they do to intervene to prevent these things as opposed to just arresting them.
Right. Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Mayor, may I just clarify? There were 6 applications, not 7.
Oh, all right.
I didn't want anybody to think they were missing one.
I'm confused. Okay. All right.
Any school just did a program with the little ones. So there's stuff being done. Don't ever think there isn't stuff being done.
No, this was a.
And I don't talk off the top of my head. Detective Wetmore.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Our meeting. That's where I got my numbers from.
Make a motion to go into
I'll second.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, many people